Ex-inmates, what was the stupidest thing you've seen a new inmate do on his first day in prison? Spent a year in a Bangkok prison. It was actually the first and only other British guy I would encounter while I was there, and the moment he came through the gates I was called over to try and communicate and translate for him. He was refusing to talk to anyone, basically going on a silent strike because he thought he wasn't supposed to be there and they were denying his human rights and all that. First thing that happens when you enter the prison is they shave your head. This kid had massive dreadlocks and didn't want anyone touching them, but at this point he had already made his bed, and he was going to have to sleep in it. I went over to him and introduced myself, asked him what his name was, where he was from, but he just stared at me in silence the whole time. One of the guards gave me a photocopy of his passport so I could see his name, age and where he was from, etc. Against all odds this kid was actually from my hometown, so my face lit up. Finally I would have someone to talk to and I'm sure we could chat and bond while we were in there. God, did I need that. But he just refused to engage with anyone, even me who was trying so hard to get a word out of him. I explained over and over that he'd lost the game. He's in prison now and there is no way out of it, so just do what the guards say. They're going to shave your head first of all and there's nothing you can do about it. Because no one had explained to me what exactly was going on, I was just confused why he wasn't talking to me. The more I spoke to him and the more he refused to talk back, the more mad I got. I just couldn't understand why he was being so difficult, and by the end of our encounter I was shouting at him, telling him to stop being such a little wuss and just accept your fate. I didn't know if he was mentally challenged or genuinely couldn't speak, but it became clear that he was just putting on an act. Eventually I just told the guards there is nothing I can do if he's not willing to speak, so go ahead and do what you've got to do. I said my goodbyes to him and told him he really needs to accept his fate. It will be easier on everyone, and when you're ready to talk I'll be here, because let me tell you, that's the best thing you could hope for in a place like this. He ended up being pinned down by the guards and his dreads shaved off while he was screaming and screaming. Of course I felt bad, but come on, time to swallow your pride, mate. He was then admitted to the prison and he came to sit with me. He still refused to speak, so I got a notebook and pen and we communicated via writing for a few days. The guards didn't know what to do with him and all the prisoners just thought he was a mental case. I still wasn't sure myself. After a few days of gossip, another prisoner told me that the kid was faking it. When I asked how he knew, he told me that he was arrested at the same police station with him, and the whole time he was in custody this kid had been screaming at the officers, claiming the violation of human rights and all that. Then one day when I was having a chat with him by means of writing, he started asking me about the embassy and I told him about what services they offer and how they can help. Then he wrote down on the paper, "Can I make a phone call through the embassy?" I just looked at him dead on and said, "What good is a phone call if you can't talk?" I couldn't help but chuckle, and he knew the gig was up, at least with me it was. Not long after that the kid was taken from the prison and carted off to a mental health institution so they could evaluate him. I didn't see him for a few weeks when he suddenly reappeared looking very disheveled and completely traumatized. And wouldn't you know it, he could suddenly speak. He started telling me about the horrors of the mental institution he had just experienced, and my God, it sounded awful, even worse than the hellhole I was currently in. Which is really saying something. We bonded for the month or so he was there and we exchanged details. I have spoken to him since I've been out and it turns out we have a fair amount of mutual friends, which is one hell of a coincidence.